I want to start in the 90s.
All right.
You studied to become a dentist.
All right.
Then you went to journalism.
So it's Oprah style. Okay, go ahead.
How did you imagine your life back then?
Oh my God. I didn't. For instance, I study and teach decision making, and it's funny that I associate. I often look at how high schoolers make that decision to go to uni, and I say that often they choose between one option. And there's a study that 70% of important strategic decisions made in boards are made after they consider one option, which is kind of stupid. That's not a choice. But I was the stupid guy, so I decided to go study dentistry at the beginning of high school, and then the revolution of Romania came, and then I didn't change my mind, and I didn't consider other options. So that means I didn't really consider what that's about, and I think that most of us choose like this. You don't imagine, you don't plan, you don't envision what's going to happen. So I didn't have I was like swimming in the dark, let's say, which is nice, but I didn't plan on my life or have any idea what's going to be like. But it was nice. I worked through my university years as a journalist, so I kind of understand this and love this. It wasn't planned at all. I changed my, professional life many times. None of them was planned, so they kind of happened. Well, the latest one was somehow thought about, but not planned, which is not something I encourage people to do.
So you graduated dentistry.
Yep.
Did you want to do that?
I did that.
You did that.
I did that for several years. I went to do the residentship. I specialized in implants. I actually had a studio on this street, so I worked for some years, and then I changed because there was a business opportunity, and I thought I could do both of them, and then I realized I couldn't. So after a year of being late for appointments or having to juggle with things in my head, I stopped for a short while. Which became I don't know, 20 years.
Walk us through that business opportunity that made you switch.
I had there was an entrepreneurial company in my family, and it grew, and it attracted interest. And I managed at first just, from kind of a distance as a part-time job. I managed those interests as, in a few hours a week. But then things grew hot, and I went there, and then I made it a full-time job. And then the interests became really intense, and there was a deal at the horizon. And then I learned how to conduct an M&A, how to prepare a company for an M&A, how to conduct an M&A, and how to close it. I thought negotiation is like half a year and closing is 2 days, and we had a week of negotiation and 6 months of closing. So dealing with the contract was also interesting. But preparing a company for transparency and in a more systemized way, it was a very nice challenge to have. I really enjoyed that.
How would you describe the entrepreneurial ecosystem back then, or how did you understand entrepreneurship as a whole?
It was the beginning of the 2000s. I had other points of contact with entrepreneurship even before that. My father started his own company in 1991 or 1992, and he continued to have it for all these 30-something years. But back then, because of me being part of this, I participated in all kinds of joint industry committees and stuff like this. It was a lot of cowboy job. It was a lot of crazy, passionate people who really neglected their lives and their actually everything, families and stuff, in order to work like crazy for a goal which was not in normal times. So the goal, you could think that the state could come and confiscate, or there's gonna be a war, or, well, it still happens today, but it was not something you could think you're gonna I don't know, build for your grandchildren. But it was a drive. It was an intense drive, and I believe that the first ones who started it there's this debate: is an entrepreneur made or born? I think the ones who were more born could not live without doing it, so they did it.
How did it change this ecosystem? Or maybe when, if you can identify a moment when entrepreneurship went from the cowboy era to what it is today?
I believe it was three things. And I believe you could see this at the end of the 2000s. First of all, there's the presence of a potential buyer. So there was a lot of M&A activity, which started to look less than, hey, that person got lucky. There was this crazy thing that happened. This company came and bought his business, into, let's say, more of the markets got structured. So the big players came, and some of them entered Romania through acquiring. Others consolidated their market share through acquiring, and it wasn't an exception anymore. It was something that loomed. So being able to make an exit. So that's the first thing. Back then, by the way, the word startup was not something that existed. So startup was something perhaps in California or in Silicon Valley or something. So Romanians have businesses, like businesses. The second thing was perception. I believe that people had the perception that business people who were not connected directly with this had the impression that business people are visionaries. There's a word in Romania, are people who actually make bad things in order to get money. They are dishonest, or they exploit some let's say holes in the system in order to make money. It was not at all perceived, and unfortunately in some geographies in Romania it's still like this. They were not perceived as creating value, when in fact we know this from data. The biggest part of value created in Romania in the last, 20, 30 years has been created through entrepreneurial effort. So first thing, exits started to happen. Second, perception started to change from visionaries. I don't know how to translate this. It's like if you imagine at the corner, some people trying to lure you to exchange money for a better rate or something like this. And the third would be some people who really knew how to do stuff and started to create in our mind, let's say, American style of businesses, really growing and becoming much better than their Western competitors. So superheroes, perception change to hey, these people really create value, and the possibility of an exit. And that, in my understanding, happened, let's say, mid-years 2000s.
Going back a bit to your career, you are a teacher, you have 2 PhDs?
No, I have just one PhD.
One.
That was enough.
You are a published author. Was it a constant interest from you to study and become better, or it was something that came later? You started to do business and you understood that you need to become better.
It was the more like the second option. That's a false dilemma, but so it's more complicated. But if I would simplify, it's the second part. I never stopped reading or being interested in the stuff that I'm interested in. Keep on researching, but it came as a. So I did my MBA with the ancestor of the school that I'm involved with, that I'm a partner in, and an associate dean, and I lecture in, which is Bucharest International School of Management. It was its ancestor, and that was in 2009 and 2010. And then I got involved with the school. I was on the board. I was really involved. I remember the exercise with vision mission, which we still use, by the way. That's something usable. I wrote the words, so I was really, really embedded there. But I did not teach. And at some point came the idea that, hey, for this subject, which was called critical thinking back then, and which I loved and which I read about and which I was interested in, I think we could not find a lecturer in 3 iterations that had good. We have a very good feedback mechanism. So for next year, why don't you prepare a course? So that was the, and I did. It was by far my. It was not something that I'm proud of. It was very philosophical and not practical. But I had to change 3 T-shirts in the first 2 hours. One of the first things I wrote my name with a non-erasable thing on the erasable thing. I was stressed, but I loved it. So I realized I have to do this, and in order to do this, I had to structure. So now I made sense of what I wanted to say. My answers are long. I always wanted to better myself, but I only understood that I have to do it through a structured way, starting with my MBA and then with my career in teaching.
And when did you start becoming interested in angel investing, startups, following this area?
I had talks and, let's say, small parts in some businesses beforehand. I did not know that's called angel investing. So then I realized, I read the books. It was something interesting, but it happened through an investment. It was Sergiu Neguț, who was already my colleague at school, and more seasoned angel investor, and also more seasoned, much more active presence in the M&A and the deals field. And he said, hey, there's this opportunity. I'm going for it. Are you interested to? If I look back, he should ask for some carry, but he was leading around without saying that he's leading around. And it was Două Parale, the company that later became Too Performant. And I'm very happy I invested back then. It's a listed company right now. And I really dug into that. I brought my own lawyers. I was really well invested in the process of becoming an angel. So that's my first angel, when I knew it's called angel investing.
Because you mentioned at the beginning decision making, how does your process for decision making when investing look like?
Now or back then?
Now.
Okay, I have some rules. What I study is simple rules. So I have a lot of simple rules that guide me. And there's a lot of stuff that's not quantifiable. So it's a bit of, let's say, intuition and looking at what my partners say. I never invest alone. I never, in all my angel investing, I always go with a syndicate or just with another person. But I look at that. So some of the rules that I also built a decision tree out of that. It should not be a sole founder. This is something I learned from VCs. It's not like you say bye-bye, so I don't talk to you. I say, okay, get a co-founder that's complementing your strengths and come back. It should be a human relationship with the founders. So if I can't see a connect, if I can't see their, let's say, beer material, you can imagine yourself having a beer with them, then it's no use because it's going to be rough times at some point. So it should be somebody you could go out for a beer with, or a group. It should be, well, lately I invest less in product, more in services because they're much more scalable. I had some issues with some investment in products, and especially a few years ago with the pandemics, things were a bit disrupted. But then again, I have a very good company that I invested in, which is based on some products, which is Tokenomo. It's not quite a product. It's more like a service, but it's based on hardware. I look at scalability before I look at the product itself. It happened that products that have a very good trajectory inside a limited market are not interesting for future rounds, so I look at scalability. And I pushed, by the way, some of the startups I invested in, I was the one pushing them to go, in geographies or to do some kind of scaling. So I looked at scaling because before that, obviously, I look at what happens then. So no slides, not investment on slides. That doesn't happen for some years now, but it did happen at some point. So they have to have something. They have to have something incorporated, some users, an MVP, and some kind of proof of traction. Not money, but something. I don't know. There's several more, but I think these are. And then there's my intuition, which is something you can train. And there's the opinion of my co-investors.
You mentioned scalability in startups and having a market. What is, in your view, the right way to identify a market? Because we sometimes see startups presenting a huge market.
Yeah, everybody's Google, and the market is the world. Yeah.
So how do you identify that piece of the market that it's big, but not too big to be fake?
The addressable market, it's not usually the total addressable market they talk about is again the world and all geographies and all people. And in all pitches I discount, I don't know, with 1 0 or 2 zeros or stuff like this. I look at what is possible in let's say in reality, not in very optimistic. I look at what I could do, for instance, with that startup. And sometimes it's only 100 times less than what they envision. And sometimes that's good enough. So, for instance, there's two things. The market they describe is too large. And the second, there's the competitors who are absent. So there's no competitors. We invented this. So that's not true. They should start with what people do now, because if people don't do anything in order to satisfy their need, then the need doesn't exist. So go home. So there should be a need which is tested through competitors. So if the competitor is not somebody who's doing exactly what you're doing, then it's an incumbent that's doing something very strange, but there's status quo bias. There's the tendency of people to continue with that. They will continue with a cable company which offers something until you come with some, because they have they've always done it like this. So you have to understand that there are competitors. And the second thing is entrepreneurs sometimes think that if something is, let's say, good and cheap, people will buy it. It's not like this. It's not like this at all. And there's a huge effort in branding, marketing, sales, and the whole go-to-market strategy, which counts much more than the quality of your product. They believe in the quality of the product and it will sell itself. It will not sell itself. And that actually diminishes the market, the addressable market, because you can't afford to address, 2 continents. You can afford to address usually Bulgaria and Hungary. This is how Romanian startups, and I believe that's not the best way to go. This is how all Romanian startups go, Hungary and Bulgaria. Sometimes the smart ones go to Moldova and Serbia, but they don't go to Germany or the Netherlands or the UK. So yeah. So it's hard to address a market, and that's really diminishing.
Why do you think the Romanian founders are thinking Bulgaria and Hungary, we do not touch Poland because it's too big and too developed?
No, I don't. Sorry, I will contradict. It's not like this. We don't touch Poland because it's too big. They don't think like this. They think we should address Hungary and Bulgaria because everybody does it. Everybody did it like this. Why should we change? They don't actually think like this. It's more like an internal thing. But if you challenge it, if you ask them, and if you ask them to come up with some good arguments or some numbers or some market research, or at least talk to some people in some geographies, they will change their minds very easily. But now this is the way people, this is the beaten path. The beaten path is like this, so yeah, we'll do the same.
How would you describe your students from today? Maybe comparing it to how you were, how your generation was.
The trouble is that this business school just started a year ago to have undergrad students, so to have like students, 19-year-olds. Most of our students, and we have taught programs like an executive MBA or smaller programs like a fast track, a mini MBA, and executive, a lot of programs to experienced managers. So my students usually are, not my age, but, mature students with experience in management. So experience in leading people, experience in leading projects. Therefore, I can't compare, I could compare my students with myself when I was an MBA student, which was, 15 years ago. And I pretty much the same. They have a better grasp on their career path, let's say, their career journey, I would say, and they don't envision it like, 20 years ago, like a straight line, which is a very good thing. They toy with serious hobbies, they do things in parallel. They all toy with entrepreneurship, which is a good thing. They don't see it as I will leave everything and start building this SRL, this limited company. They see it as something they could start doing in parallel, something they could start and then stop, something they can try. So this, let's say, tendency for entrepreneurship is I think it's growing, and I think they're more flexible in the mind. If I would compare myself with the students that study today, that's I'm old, so that's a really big timeline between the two, and I believe they're born global. There's a theory in entrepreneurship about these startups that internationalize at a global level from the first 3 years from incorporation, and they're called born globals, which usually it's service companies or technological companies, and they are born with the DNA of servicing the world. I believe the students now are born with the DNA of being world citizens, and that is really, really different from when I grew up.
What's the specifics of a born global startup?
Oh, a born global startup, not a student. A
Yeah.
born global startup, it has to be the intersection of certain things. It usually is based on a technology that is new. So it's a new and up and trendy. They usually started it before it was new, up and trendy, when nobody heard about it. I will give you the example of UiPath, for instance. That UiPath is a born global. UiPath, I don't know, FinTech OS is a born global. Amber Studios is a born global. They start doing something with a different approach. They all started doing it with a different approach, and it didn't happen to them to internationalize. It was in the DNA. So they started in order to address and to go play on the big scene from the beginning, because they had something to say. But that jump is not easy. So it should be usually another thing. So intersection is the domain, let's say, usually a technology which is up and coming, and they started before it was up and coming. So it was some weirdos in an apartment, or some weirdos in a place. And second, they all have visionary founders. They have visionary, charismatic founders who are born leaders and who usually are experienced somehow. They know how to navigate through dilemmas, and it's not through compromise. They know how to go left or right fast. So I believe that's it. I think this.
Can you be a visionary founder but be lacking in the other qualities you mentioned? Leadership.
Yeah,
and so on?
yeah, and it's again, it's not 1 and 0. It's but leadership qualities can be acquired, and this is what I study. I study CEOs and top managers who, well, most of them go through a crisis. So they think they can do it, and when they go from what they did best to leading an entire organization, they realize they can't, and it's not a matter of skills, it's a matter of approach, and then they change. So people change. Sometimes that comes really hard. That comes with therapy and crisis and not sleeping at night, and they can't talk to many people. You can't go to your boss because there's no boss. Hey, I have a problem with my job. So they change. So sometimes you could see that the approach was not the best one, and you basically grab yourself from the back of the head and really change. But some of them were born this way. For instance, I know of Daniel Dinesh. I heard him speak at How to Web, I think 6 years ago or something like this, and he said that the DNA, the main thing from an organizing point of view was delegate as low as possible. So you push the decision as low as possible in your organization, which is not something people do naturally. So he did not learn that the hard way. I believe he had it. I don't know the guy personally, but I believe he had it in him. That's hard to delegate. It's really, really hard. And if you don't, let's say, if you not only do it, but push everybody in your organization to do it, then you've got some recipe for success.
You said that you study managers and CEOs.
Yeah.
What are some of the findings you have learned about Romanian CEOs, and maybe if there's a difference between CEOs of traditional companies, let's say, and those of technology companies that are maybe more global thinking, growth. They have a growth mindset very clearly.
I didn't see that. I didn't even see a really big difference between the CEOs of, let's say, multinationals or corporates, so the hired CEOs, and the CEOs who are also owners. I saw most of them being, let's say, like students who are plunged in a job. So they have to learn while they're doing it. And most of them have this, let's say, intellectual humility. They sometimes contradict themselves, try to understand that what they're doing might be wrong, So that attitude, not everybody's like this. Some people are more sure of themselves, people are less flexible. But I did not see any differences, and I've gone, because I know my samples, I have to do that. I know that they are both entrepreneurs and not entrepreneurs, tech companies, and brick and mortar joints, younger, older, experienced, less experienced, startup, leading 3 people or 5 people, leading 2,000 people. So they're human and they're learning. I believe for Romanians who don't have a tradition in that, well, they had, but the history kind of interrupted it for a while. Entrepreneurship is something learned. I believe that there are a lot of very interesting studies about multi-generational companies, and you can't have this in Romania. Well, we start to have it. And there's problems like, passing it on to the other generation. We just start to see that happening now. But in more stable societies, in the Netherlands, in the UK, in the US, you can see entrepreneurship going on for generations and generations. So basically, perhaps they have some DNA, some, let's say, early education, some tacit understanding of what that's about. We don't much, so we learn not we, but the CEOs learn at the job.
Talking about that, I wanted to tackle the subject of the fear of failure, because we grew in a society where we had this fear of failure. Our parents had it, even if maybe they had something safer to fall back on. You had a job, even if you go to university or not. How did you see this evolve over years? We still have it in our DNA, or it's a myth?
We do a lot. And because we talk about startups and entrepreneurship, I will give you let's say, the best example. People hate to kill their companies. So you think of your company as your child. Most of the entrepreneurs I know think of their companies as their child, which is not a very productive way to think about, because sometimes you have to let go and start another one, which you don't do with your children. And that means that sometimes people fight fights that are not worth fighting, or do not change the strategy, 180 degrees. Well, not really, 90 degrees, for instance, but when they do, they are very successful. So when you, for instance, make peace with failure and understand that failure is a good teacher, then you learn the lesson and move forward. There's a nice study there's several studies that show that firms and managers learn from mistakes. So that's known. But there's a very cool study a few years ago that shows that some people don't learn. And they were, the authors were like, these learned, these didn't learn. What's the difference between them? And the difference is they did not, it's called external or internal attribution, they did not see themselves responsible for the failure. So it was the market was not ready, or the clients are idiots, that they don't see their benefit, or the marketing department did not do a good job, or somebody else screwed up. It wasn't me. Yeah, I did a very good job. If you do that, you don't learn anything. The others learned, really. So what did you learn? I learned that and that and that. What did you learn? What should I learn? So I see people who changed their strategy or even closed businesses who made a profit in order to start really successful businesses. But if you do that, it's hard. It's hard to close a business. It's hard to really close. By the way, it's hard from a legal perspective to close a business, but it's hard to give up on to kill your darlings. So that's something to tackle failure with. Another thing is, I would like people in general, but mostly entrepreneurs, to have more like a scientific mind, and to look at least at the beginning, but also the exploring part, which should never cease, to be like a series of experiments. If your mentality is trial and error, then it's gonna be failure. If your mentality is I'm testing hypotheses, then if it fails, that's a good thing. It's a good information. So the client doesn't want that. Okay, what does the client? If you test 3 hypotheses in the same time, then could it be like this or like this? Like finding out that it's not like this is a good piece of information. But if you have all your car with you, let's go that way. Oh, it's blocked. Okay, let's reverse, or let's leave the car here, kill it. That's people don't test. Basically, people the most encountered way to test their business, let's say, plans is doing it, which is very expensive and time consuming. So they should make peace with the failure and see it as a testing tool. And the second is, if it's time, close your business.
What are some of the biases that affect the decision making of the founders you met and you have a relationship with?
I think this is pervasive for entrepreneurs in general, is overconfidence, which is a good thing. Overconfidence is, so if you look at the statistics, I don't know, let's say half of the companies that are registered in a year are dead within, I don't know, 5 years, 3 years, or something like this. So do you know this? Yeah, I know this. So what are the odds that your company will be dead in 5 years? 0. So why? Look at me. Look at what I designed. Look at how smart I am, which is good. If it wasn't for that, the person would not navigate through the really hard times of being rejected by the market, by investors, by whomever, by colleagues, by employees. So you have to really fight. And if you don't have the overconfidence, you will be convinced that it's not such a good service or product, and you will give up. So overconfidence, which is a good thing. It shouldn't be really blind overconfidence, but it should be overconfidence. So not only confidence, but a bit exaggerated confidence. I see sunk costs, and let's say that relates to what I said before. So I invested in this path, so I should continue on this path. No, stop, go on the other one. I see the tendency to follow the herd. I talked to you about everybody wants to internationalize in Hungary and Bulgaria. So at least think differently for 5 minutes, and then go to Hungary and Bulgaria. But I don't see more biases than in a normal sample of population. So,
if we were to, as a thought experiment, if we were to put an American founder and a Romanian founder face to face to pitch, what would be the main difference in your opinion? They have the same level of overconfidence, the same technical skills.
Romanians don't pitch that well. Americans are educated to speak their minds, even in normal conversation, with certain cues that give away, let's say, success and connection. And for instance, they, not in a pitch, they remember your name and use it in the first minute 3 times. They look into your eyes, they shake your hand like this, you know. It's the same on stage. So I know American business people, and I know Romanian business people, and I know that sometimes my vision is skewed. Why? Because I've seen, I think, I don't know, more than 1,000, 3,000, I don't know. I've seen many pitches, but most of the pitches I've seen are from tech companies, tech startups, which means that these persons, more and more ladies do this. So I'm tempted to say guys, but it's not guys. It's these wonderful founders are mostly tech people, and sometimes tech people are more like, you know, not very well skilled in public speaking, in looking into your eyes, and in really extracting what's useful from you know, to pitch. So I believe it's I don't know, pitching. Basically, I was about to say public speaking, but the difference between an American and a Romanian, be that a student or a 10th grader, you know, with an assignment in geography, or a startup founder, is pitching. Actually, they should work on their pitching. By the way, I know a large company, a large, very innovative company in Romania, a tech company, which had, well, like Google style, some space to incubate good ideas from employees. So you could come, or two colleagues could come, hey, we have this idea. Would you consider, you know, it's an internal idea, so it would be an internal project of the company. And after 2 years of doing this with several projects worth, you know, hundreds of thousands, so really big projects, they realized they weren't allocating funds based on feasibility or something. They allocated funds mainly on how well they were pitched. So somebody who has, you know, a better way to put things on a stage were more successful in attracting funds.
Did the pitches change or evolve a bit in the past few years?
In general, I believe so. Yeah, the scene is much larger. It was a freaky thing. I had to explain what angel investing is, or what a VC is, or you know, to people. So what do you do exactly? So what is that exactly? What's how to web? So what exactly do they do? It's like a show, or is now everybody knows this, and that means that a lot of pitches are accessible to founders online, or you could go see, and then you learn. You know, you realize there's structure online. You could see, not a crazy guy on YouTube. You could see, you know, tens and tens of very good, very well structured, you know, 10 slides, 5 points you should address. Don't start with that, start with that, do that, or do that, or do that, you know. Illustrate with a case study. By the way, please illustrate with a case study. Don't say like things.
What's still missing, in your opinion, in the Romanian tech ecosystem, tech startups ecosystem?
We don't necessarily have many serial entrepreneurs. So we don't have series of founders who either killed or sold their businesses and then started another one. We have some of them who are the second iteration. We don't have 5 iterations. We don't have professional serial entrepreneurs. And if you do this, I believe the first ones will be the very successful ones. But if you really take this model and sell it to young entrepreneurs, and they can have 3 things they went through, not ideas, because idea is like 1% of the success. but implementing and failing or succeeding in a certain way in a business and then doing it all over again and a third time in a different industry, then at that point, these people are investable. These people have a much lesser chance to fail because they've learned the lesson. So, but I don't see them, I don't see this as a journey or as a path that people envision. I would like to have 3 such, experiences until I'm 35 or something. I don't see that happening. And I hope I will.
At the beginning, you mentioned that you somehow started the entrepreneurial career with M&As, with an M&A, with an exit. Is there a fear of exits in the mindset of the Romanian founder? They keep their companies too much, maybe? Maybe connected with the fact that they see the company as their kid?
Okay. So first of all, I want to qualify something that you said. I'm not an entrepreneur. I have some projects that could be sometimes, but I'm not an entrepreneur because I believe the entrepreneur is somebody who thinks constantly about the project and about the salaries on Wednesday and about stuff like this, which is something I don't do now. But I have many contact points with entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial companies and entrepreneurship in general. It's even worse than this. I believe they don't know or they don't think about exit. It's like death, we don't think about death. By the way, exit is a very, very good thing. Death, that's a philosophical question, it's not for now, but exit is a very, very good thing. They don't think about it. It's something like that, no. For instance, I will give you an example. It was in a Tech Angels speech, it was way before the pandemic, 3 founders, very successful startup, they had 100,000 users, for free throughout the globe for a very tech stuff. And they wanted to raise money in order to raise money. They wanted to raise like already a bridge in order to go to the US. They had signals that they could thrive over there. And on stage, there was a question from one of the people in Tech Angels. So how do you see your exit? What exit? One of them, what exit? There's no exit. We're gonna keep this company. What? So why are you here from? You have to understand that if you want to attract a round, then there's gonna be an exit. Perhaps we're not gonna be there, but the path towards an exit is clear. What? No, what? And they started arguing on stage. That was really, really funny. Tech, 20-something years old, very universal in the mind. They had no idea they have to sell the company at some point, So selling the company is like betraying your family or something like this in some minds, or like dying, or like making a seppuku, So I believe this is not a very productive way to understand. We keep our cars more than we should. We keep our houses more than we should. We keep our careers more than we should. We should start thinking about keeping our companies less than we should. Less than we do.
The last question, if you would think of an unanswered question about Romanian startups or Romanian ecosystem. Unanswered
question. So if I would like to ask myself a question.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hard. Let me think. I will start with an answer, and like in Jeopardy, I will ask the question at the end. So I believe the answer is that we are on a path in Romania of a mindset change towards entrepreneurship. This has to be encouraged. This really has to be encouraged, and this should be encouraged through some formal education within middle school and perhaps high school. We have founded an undergrad program that teaches entrepreneurship. We have ingrained entrepreneurship in all the things that we do at school, but that starts at 18. I believe that people should toy, and we do this with some summer camps with high schoolers already, and that's really, really good. So my question, now I'm asking the question. What should happen in a structured way in order to produce more unicorns in 10 years' time? So that's the question. So my answer would be start toying with projects that could look like entrepreneurship in middle school and in high school. And I'm not talking about pitches and incubators or stuff like this. No, have people sell lemonade and have people imagine how to extract value for something and sell it, which is the hardest part, not extracting value, but selling it to a customer at some point, and they will fall in love with it. And we will increase the chance to have more unicorns in 10 years' time.